George Washington has long been painted as an idealist. A man who fought for freedom and liberty, his moral strength has rarely been questioned. But archaeologists have unearthed reminders that this freedom did not apply to all.
These are cowrie shells. They're not found locally, they're found in Africa and in the Caribbean, and they're very important to people of Africa. Some of them are used for money, some of them are used for jewelry.
These shells, found at Washington's childhood home, were likely brought here by slaves. They're a reminder of how much his livelihood depended on their labor.
Washington was around slavery his entire life. He becomes an actual slave owner at age 11 when his father dies.
He'll continue to acquire slaves into his adulthood. At the height of its production, his Mount Vernon estate staffs over 300 enslaved workers in both his house and fields.
Washington expected his slaves to work 6 days a week from sunup to sundown. As he put it, I expect to reap the benefits of the labor myself.
Even as president, he brings a contingent of slaves to Philadelphia, the current seat of government. They are held at the Executive Mansion, a precursor of today's White House. Recently, a team of archaeologists began excavating the site. What they found there surprised even them.
I'm now standing at what would have been the entrance of an underground hallway or passage that would have been used primarily by servants and slaves. And it would have served to allow them access to the work areas in those two buildings and to keep them out of sight.
This unknown passageway and other discoveries at the dig site have drawn new attention to Washington's relationship with slavery. In 1780, Pennsylvania passes the Gradual Abolition Act, which demands that slaves kept for more than 6 months must be freed. Washington skirts this law by illegally shuttling individuals back and forth across state lines. But some of his slaves seek this freedom on their own by running away from captivity.
Perhaps the most famous runaway slave was a seamstress by the name of Ona Judge, who was one of Martha's slaves.
Ona learns that she is going to be given to one of Martha Washington's granddaughters. This means separation from her friends and family.
The specter of being sold is one of the most agonizing and traumatic moments within the life of any enslaved person.
Philadelphia, 1796. While George Washington dines at the presidential mansion, Ona Judge slips unnoticed into the streets. She's planned her escape carefully, and she has help.
There's a very well-oiled machine in Philadelphia around the escape of slavery.
Are you sure we won't find?
Don't worry. We made all the arrangements. It's all right.
She'll need all the allies she can get. Washington will soon learn of her whereabouts in the North and devise a plan to covertly kidnap her.
He writes letters to get her back with the understanding we don't want to make a big thing about this. It has to be done secretively because he knew it'd be very embarrassing.
But Ona learns of the kidnapping plot and begins the unprecedented move of negotiating with the president.
She states that I will return, but you may not enslave my children. And Washington is furious. You know, he doesn't negotiate with slaves. And she doesn't come back.
Rather than risk embarrassment, Washington drops his kidnapping plans. And Ona never sees her family again. Throughout his life, Washington did nothing to abolish the institution of slavery. But upon his death, he makes one final gesture.
Washington is deeply concerned with his image in history. He desires secular immortality. He wants to be on the right side of history, and he knows a slaveholder is on the wrong side. He tackles this in his final document, his long will that he writes by himself.
In this document, he decrees that all his slaves be freed and provided with education. But there's a catch. The orders are to be carried out only after the death of his wife. However, Martha is now worried that the slaves have a vested interest in her death, so she frees them early. Washington's relationship with slavery is a complex one. Its impact can be felt in every aspect of his life, including a grisly connection to his famous false teeth.